This is a video for how to go about creating tougher ISOs number 3 in Fusion 360. You'll notice in this object I have this kind of L-shaped block base of the object, and then I have these kind of pyramid looking forms that are kind of resting out on this kind of deck out here. And in order for us to create these forms, we'll need to be using the loft command. Now we're also going to be using some work plane features as well to help guide us in making this. I'm going to assume for the sake of discussion that this is in millimeters, so I'm going to go over and change my document settings to millimeters. I'm going to say OK, and we'll go back to the object here, take a look at it. We're going to draw ourselves a line that's 105 wide and 75 tall. So 105 wide, 75 tall. I'm just hitting L on my keyboard. I'm going to drag over 105. I'm going to hit Enter, grab a hold of the line command again, and I'm going to go straight up 75. Now, if I go back to our object here, we'll notice that we can come into the left 15, and we're going to come up down here 12. So back to my line command, I'm going to come over from here a distance of 15. I'm going to hit Enter, grab a hold of the line again. I'm going to come up over here a distance of 12 and hit Enter. Now, what you'll notice is it didn't really give us the distance dimensions of this in here. We could infer some of it, but we're not going to do that. What we'll do is we'll grab a hold of the line, and I'm going to click on our point over here, and I'm not going to click yet. I'm just going to drag up and reference this point up here. And as I drag straight down, you're going to see that dotted blue line. I now have for myself a line that snaps right underneath that line because I can see that dotted blue line. I'm going to click. I'm going to come straight up, perfectly snap that into place. I see the light blue color in our shape here because that tells us that Fusion sees a profile that it can create a solid from, such as the extrusion we will do next. So I'm going to go ahead, take a look at our depth extrusion. It's going to be a distance of 80. We will go back and put in 80, and we're going to say Enter. Now I want this over here to be our isometric view. So when I go back to my view here, I want our ISO to look just like we see in the image. So I'm going to right click on our corner of our view cube, set current view as home. Let's go to fit to view. Now every time I click on my ISO, I got this. Let's go ahead and go back. Now what we need to do next is we're going to start creating these surfaces that we need to create these lofted views. And this line right here is 45. I know it's the full depth because I can see it go the full depth back here. So we'll grab a hold of Create 2D Sketch. We're going to click on this surface. I'm going to grab a hold of 2-point rectangle. When I drag up along the line, automatically it's going to snap to 80. I'm going to hit Tab, and I'm going to go to 45, and I'm going to hit Enter. Now I want to grab a hold of my view cube real quick because I'm going to hit the P on my keyboard, and I want to project this line back here, and I want to project these lines over here on these sides. And what I want is to be able to say OK from there, because what I want is I want these two surfaces to show up, because we're going to need those two surfaces to make these two separate kind of pyramids here. Now the next thing we need is we need to notice that if we were like standing on these two little squares over here, this goes up a distance of 58 from the bottom, and so we need to get for ourselves a work plane that goes off the bottom. We could go off of the base right here and subtract 12 from 58, but just for the sake of discussion, we're going to go to work plane, construct offset plane from the bottom. We're going to drag straight up, and we're going to put a distance of negative 58. And what that'll do is give us the nice perfect height that we need to start creating our surface. We're going to go ahead and say OK. I'm going to go to my house button. Now over here in our browser menu, you'll see that we have for ourselves a construction, and this is the plane that we want to sketch on because we need to find for ourselves some dimensions, and we're going to sketch kind of a little rectangle on here. We're going to right click on plane 1 over here and go to Create Sketch. And that's going to rotate for us, and you'll see that we're sketching kind of up in the air here. Now I need to project this plane up onto that object, and I'd also like to go ahead and just project that line up. And project geometry, that's what we do, is we take geometry from another surface and project it onto the surface that we're sketching on. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. I'm going to go back up to the top here. Now let's go move this over. Let's go back to our object. I want to draw just this rectangle here for now. Just for the sake of discussion, we're just going to draw just this rectangle. And I can see that it goes 18 out from the front, and it's got a width of 15. We can mess with some other dimensions here. I'm just going to come up to 2D rectangle, and down here we're just going to draw for ourselves just a real simple rectangle. I'm not going to worry too much about what the dimensions are right now. We're going to use some location dimensions to help it, not size dimensions. So we're 18 in from the side. I can grab dimension from here to here is a distance of 18. I'll go 18. We go back over here. The width is 15. 15. Hit Enter. go back. Now we need the distance in from the side, and it looks like the distances in from the side are going to be a distance of 10 on both sides. So let's go here. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go here. I'm going to put in a distance of 10. And I'll hit enter. Same thing over here on the opposite side from here to here. And I'm going to tap on 10, and I'm going to hit enter. It looks to me like now what we have is we do have the right area, but we want to ignore this because we're going to do a cut that goes down through this object here. We want to ignore that because we want to do a cut that goes through here. So just for the sake of discussion, we're going to go to Finish Sketch. We're going to go back to here. We're going to go to Create, and we're going to go down to the Loft command. And we're going to go to Loft. And the first surface we want is this flat surface, and the second flat surface we want is right up here. And you'll see that that is now lofting up into here, and it's going to allow us to do a cut straight down at a certain point. So we'll go ahead and we're going to accept this loft and say OK. What we need to do now is sketch something else on here to where it's going to cut straight down. Let's go to Create Sketch, click on the top of our loft, and I'm just going to draw for myself, just a rectangle that just goes, through the object like this. And when we go back, we can see that the width from the edge into these little squares is going to be a distance of 15. I'm going to grab a hold of dimension in here to here is 15. I'm going to hit enter. Opposite side over here. I'm just going to go ahead and do the driven dimension from the opposite side. It's going to be 15. Wow, I placed that perfect somehow. I'm going to go ahead and just go to Finish Sketch. And we'll go back to the object, and the distance down is a distance of 30. So what I'll do is grab a hold of Extrude, and I want to make sure I select each one of these, and I'm going to drag straight down, put in a distance of negative 30, and hit enter. And we now have ourselves our two surfaces, and we've cut down that surface. Worked really, really well. So next step, we need to find that plane again. We're going to turn on this back plane back here. We're going to turn on the visibility of that. I want to create another sketch. I'm going to right click and go to Create Sketch. I'm going to go back up to my house button, and I want to make sure that I'm projecting the geometry from this bottom surface up to here. We can go ahead and project everything else that we have pretty much up there if we want. I always like the view with what we're doing with this construction plane right now, because this is what project geometry does. Gives us a lot of reference points and makes life so much easier when we're trying to create sketches up here on the top. So here's what we'll do. We'll go back. We're going to take a look. We've got this rectangle right here, and you can see an angled line, and we need to come in 10 from the side again on each side. The width is 60, but it looks like there's a gap back here. You can be kind of confused and think this rests up against the back, but it does not. So we're going to go in and create our rectangle that's back here on the back. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to reference this because we know this is 10 in from the side. I'm going to reference this as I drag this back, and I'm going to click and reference this point too, and I'm just going to create for myself a rectangle. And notice again, these align with the corners of our little squares over here, because we can see that it's in a distance of 10. If I came up and grabbed a hold of dimension, I would automatically see a distance of 10 because we aligned it. Now our width, our distance here should be 60. Our width here is going to be 15. So from here to here, it's going to be 15. We automatically have it. Now what we need to do, just to make 100% sure we have everything right, is we need to notice from this corner to here should be a distance of 42. So let's make sure that we have the correct dimensions here. We do not. I'm going to go in and put in 42. Ooh, I do have 42. It did rest it right up against the edge, didn't it? It's kind of interesting to see. So I have 15. We have a little bit of an angled line here. Maybe that was a little bit of an optical illusion for me. It looked like we were going to be coming out a little bit. Let's see, and let's take a look and see what this winds up looking like. We've got 42 from here to this edge. We know we have 15 here. We have 18 here for sure. So we have all that into place. Let's go to Finish Sketch. Let's come up here. Let's grab a hold of our Loft command. This surface up to here. We have ourselves our little angle. It's neat. It wasn't off the back. It was the way I looked at this. It did look like it was coming off the back, but all I see is just the angled line here. Worked out well. We're going to go ahead and come back. We'll say OK. We now perfectly have our object. And through utilizing offset planes and lofting, we were able to create these more a little bit complex looking forms on this base. So this has been a video for how to go about creating tougher ISOs number 3 through the use of offsetting planes and lofting in Fusion 360.